Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise and really get to the core insights on some fascinating topics. And today, we're unrolling a pretty vibrant world. Think art, history, craftsmanship, Oriental and Persian carpets.
That's right. And this deep dive, it's actually inspired by a specific family business, Babak's Oriental carpets. We'll look at them, but also broaden out.
Yeah, we want to explore the traditions they represent and focus especially on one really captivating type of rug, the kelim.
Exactly. So our mission today, basically, is to unpack the artistry, that deep, deep history, and, the practical side of these woven treasures. We'll be pulling out the key insights, where they come from, what makes them distinct, and, well, what gives them their value. We'll start with how Babak's operates within this tradition, and then, like you said, zoom in on kelims.
Okay, great. So let's kick off with Babak's Oriental carpets. Now, this isn't just, any old store. It's a real legacy. The current owner, Babak Rizwani, he's carrying on a tradition. His father, Dr. Husheng Rizwani, built this incredible reputation over 35 years in Graz, Austria.
35 years. Wow.
Yeah, and Babak, the son, he literally grew up in this world. So that lifelong exposure, it's given him this amazing depth of knowledge. He really specializes in Persian carpets.
And what's great is how Babak shares that knowledge. He's genuinely passionate. You can tell he loves talking about the history, the intricate hand-knotting techniques, their investment value, too, and just the overall quality that defines these genuine Persian and Oriental carpets.
It's more than just selling rugs, then.
Oh, absolutely. Beyond the expertise, Babak's Oriental Carpets offers this whole ecosystem of support. They do worldwide shipping, for instance. They have expert repair and cleaning services, professional appraisals, even a trade-in and purchasing counter.
Trade-in? That's interesting.
Yeah, and you can get information sheets. They offer free delivery, though. Always best to check about any restrictions there. And something I really like, no obligation trials.
Yeah.
So you can actually see a piece in your own home before you commit. It's a very thorough approach, very customer focused.
It really sounds like the full package makes it easy for you to explore. So if you're near Victoria, BC, or just curious, the place is 919 Fort Street. We'll have all the contact details, phone, email in our show notes for you. They're open Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sundays, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Easy to find.
Okay, so from that broader world of Oriental carpets, let's dive into something really specific now. The kelim. You'll often hear it called kelim, but the pronunciation is more like kelim. Emphasis on that first part, ki.
Kelimim, got it.
Right. It's a word with Turkish roots, but it comes from the Persian gelim, which means something like to spread roughly.
And that name really hints at the history, doesn't it?
Okay.
Kelim weaving is, well, it's believed to be ancient. Some historians trace it back to the 5th century AD, but there are even earlier examples, hundreds of years before Christ, that look remarkably like the kelims we see today.
Wow, BC. That's incredible. It is, and their defining feature, the thing that makes a kelim, is that they are flat woven and pileless. So basically they're made by interweaving the colored wefts, those are the horizontal threads, and the warps, the vertical ones. Simple as that in concept.
Simple concept, but complex history.
Exactly. And initially, they weren't just decorative. These were essential items for nomadic tribes. They used them as blankets, saddle blankets, seat mats, even wall decorations or prayer rugs. Very practical.
That completely changes how you look at them. Not just art, but tools for living. So these pieces are way more than just, textiles. They're carriers of culture, of artistic expression.
Absolutely. Those geometric patterns, the symbols woven in, they often carry specific, deep meanings. They can reflect a community's worldview, their beliefs, their history, maybe even social status. And these traditional techniques, these motifs, they get passed down generation after generation.
So each rug is like a story.
Precisely. It's often a personal and cultural narrative. Woven by tribal women at different stages of their lives. Maybe before marriage, preparing for her new home, or during marriage, making things for her children, her living space. And, quite poignantly, sometimes women would weave rugs later in life specifically for their own funerals to be donated to the mosque afterwards.
That's deeply moving.
It is. And with Afghan kelims, for example, they're traditionally made with local wool and natural dyes, which just deepens that connection to the land and the tradition itself.
Makes you realize every thread could hold a story, stretching back way further than you first think. Okay, now we get the history. Let's dig into the actual craft. What makes kelim weaving unique? What sets them apart?
Okay, so the main difference, the absolute key thing between a kelim and your typical pile rug is the construction. Kelims are flat woven. The wefts and warps interlock tightly, creating this seamless, almost tapestry-like surface. no pile, remember. Pile rugs, on the other hand, have individual strands of yarn knotted onto a foundation. That's what gives them that plush, raised surface. Totally different feel.
Got it. Flat versus fluffy?
Kind of. And kilims often use a technique called slit weave. Now, imagine you're weaving a block of, say, blue color. You stop, and you start the next color, maybe red, right beside it. Where those two colors meet, you leave this tiny vertical gap or slit. That's the slit weave.
Ah, okay.
And that technique is what allows for those really bold, sharp geometric designs that kilims are famous for. Though I should say they can also have beautiful floral motifs, too. The weavers pack the weft down really tightly to cover the warp completely, and they often prefer diagonal patterns because that helps avoid long vertical slits, which could weaken the rug's structure.
Right, structure is key. So what's the practical takeaway here for you, the listener? Well, one big plus of this flat weave is that kilims are reversible. The pattern looks the same on both sides. That makes them super versatile, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Ideal for high traffic spots where you might want to flip it over eventually to even out the wear, or just, change the look slightly.
And materials, what are they usually made of?
Predominantly wool, often wool for both the warps and the wefts. Sometimes you'll find wool wefts on a cotton warp. Silk kilims exist, but they're much less common. They're gorgeous, incredible sheen, but obviously more costly and a bit more delicate.
Makes sense. And thickness, do they vary much?
They do. You can get quite robust, thicker kilims, which are great for floors. Even in busy rooms, they hold up well. But then you also get thinner ones, which are really easy to move around. People use them for picnics, or even just as decorative throws over furniture. Lots of flexibility.
That versatility is definitely part of the appeal. And you mentioned the beauty lies in their diversity, too, reflecting all those different origins.
Oh, absolutely. There is a whole world of kelim types, each with its own distinct personality. You've got, for instance, Turkish or Anatolian kilims. They're often known for strong geometric patterns, maybe stylized florals, and really bold, vibrant colors from natural dyes.
Right.
Then there are antique kilims. These are highly prized for their age. We're talking at least 80 years old, usually their rarity, and those traditional motifs that often tell stories. Though, I have to say, pinpointing an exact age, that can be tricky, even for experts.
I can imagine.
Then you have vintage kilims. These are generally from the mid-20th century. They often blend that traditional craft with maybe slightly more modern design sensibilities. Moving south, you find Persian Qashqai kilims. These come from the Qashqai tribe in Iran. They're known for a very fine weave, high-quality wool, and these deep, rich colors. Kelim Fars from southern Iran is another example that often looks quite similar to Persian pile rugs, actually, because of that shared origin.
Interesting.
And then up in the mountains, the Caucasian kilims. From the Caucasus regions, naturally. These are known for being really rugged, durable, and having distinctive geometric designs, often with bold, contrasting colors. And finally, you have modern kilims. These definitely draw inspiration from traditional designs, but they might use more contemporary color palettes, maybe simplify the patterns. They fit really well into modern homes.
That's a huge range. And speaking of history woven in, it makes you wonder, how has the often difficult history of places like Afghanistan influenced these rugs?
That's a really important point. The conflict and displacement in Afghanistan's recent history, it's had a profound impact. It led to the creation of what are often called war rugs.
War rugs.
Yes. These kilims, and sometimes pile rugs too, they are this powerful visual record. They depict images of conflict tanks, helicopters, weapons, and political events. They offer this unique, sometimes raw glimpse into what people experienced, often commissioned by artists or made by weavers who became refugees. Production continues both in Afghanistan and by Afghan refugees in neighboring countries. It's really a testament to art as a form of record-keeping and, resilience.
Wow. Art becoming a direct historical document like that.
Yeah.
It's quite something. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about bringing these pieces, these bits of history and art, into your own home. They sound incredibly versatile.
They really are. In a living room, for example, their textures and patterns can just instantly create a focal point. And they work with so many styles, from very traditional to super modern.
Any tips for arranging them?
Sure. You want to think about size, color, and pattern, obviously. Try to position it for balance, maybe centered under a coffee table or used to define a feeding area. A good tip is to match one of the dominant colors in the rug with some accents in the room, like pillows or curtains. It ties everything together.
Makes sense.
And if your kilim has a really bold, busy pattern, it's often best to keep the surrounding decor a bit simpler. Let the rug be the star.
Let it shine.
Exactly. And don't forget, they're not just for floors. They look amazing as wall hangings, almost like tapestries. Or you can drape them over sofas or chairs as throws. Even make pillow covers out of smaller ones or fragments. Super adaptable.
Okay, practicalities. Let's unpack this. How do you keep your kilim looking good for years to come?
Right. Care is important. Vacuuming, for instance. You definitely want to use a vacuum without a beater bar or rotating brush. Those can be too harsh.
Okay, no beater bar.
And vacuum side to side along the length of the rug, not end to end across the fringes. That helps protect the fringes from getting sucked in and damaged. Regular vacuuming is good, but gentle is the key.
Gentle, got it. Are they durable? They look sort of delicate sometimes.
They can look delicate, but because of that tight, flat weave, they're actually remarkably durable. That said, like any textile, they can fade in direct sunlight over time and obviously show wear in really high traffic areas. So rotating the rug every so often is a good idea to even out exposure and wear.
Rotation helps. What about underneath?
Ah, yes. A rug pad. Absolutely essential for a kilim. It does a few things. Provides cushioning, stops it from slipping around, which is key for safety. And it helps the rug keep its shape and actually extends its life by reducing friction against the floor.
So definitely get a pad. What kind?
You want something sturdy, non-slip, and breathable. Felt, rubber, or a combination often works well. And make sure you cut it just slightly smaller than the rug itself so the edges of the pad don't show.
Good tip. Okay, so if you're listening and thinking, I'm captivated, I want one, what should you know about buying a kilim?
Well, first off, the price. It can vary quite a bit. Depends on size, age, condition, the complexity of the design. Lots of factors. But because they're handmade, because of the artistry involved and their durability, many people really do see them as a worthwhile investment. They offer beauty and cultural value that can last generations.
And what's fascinating here is, how do you know if it's the real deal, an authentic kilim, especially with all those variations out there?
Yeah, authentication can be tricky, no doubt, but there are definite signs to look for. Check the dyes. Natural, vegetable-based dyes usually have subtle variations in color and a brash, they call it.
Yeah.
Synthetic dyes tend to be more uniform, flatter looking.
Okay, look for those subtle color shifts.
Right. And look for small irregularities in the weave or the pattern. Those aren't flaws. They're actually signs of handmade craftsmanship. Factory-made rugs are perfectly uniform.
Imperfection is authenticity here.
Exactly. And remember the basics. An authentic kilim is flat woven, so no thick pile. And the pattern should be visible and basically the same on both sides. Reversible.
And thickness. You said they're flat woven, so relatively thin.
Generally, yes, compared to pile rugs. But a quality kilim, even if thin, should still feel substantial. It shouldn't feel flimsy or overly light. It should have some body to it.
Good points. Now, to really appreciate the kilim, it probably helps to know a bit about its cousins in the woven world. How do they stack up against other hand-woven textiles?
That's a great way to put it, cousins. They share roots but have distinct personalities. Take duris from India. Like kilims, they're flat woven. But duris often have simpler, more graphic designs. They're frequently made of cotton, not always wool, which makes them feel lighter, maybe easier to clean.
Cotton, okay.
Yeah, duris are usually reversible and durable too, but they tend to have a more casual, maybe rustic feel compared to the often richer, more intricate kilims.
Gotcha. What else?
Well, then you have sumac rugs, often from the Caucasus. Now, these are not flat woven in the same way as kelims. They use a special weft wrapping technique. It creates a thicker, more textured surface than a kilim, almost like embroidery on the surface.
More texture.
Exactly. And this technique allows for really intricate, detailed designs. But key difference, sumacs are not reversible. Because of how the wrapping threads are finished, the back looks quite different, often with loose ends.
Ah, okay. Not reversible. That's a clear distinction.
Definitely. And one more important relative, though it's a bit different, Suzani, from Central Asia. Now, strictly speaking, a Suzani isn't a rug. It's a decorative textile. The name means needle in Persian because they're hand-embroidered, not woven in the same way.
Embroidered, not woven. Big difference.
Huge difference. They often use a special tambour hook, creating these intricate chain stitches. The designs are often these bold, beautiful motifs. Suns, moons, flowers, vines, fruits, sometimes birds or fish. You mostly see Suzanis used as wall hangings, bed covers, or maybe throws. They can be used on the floor, but they're generally more delicate because of the embroidery.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Choosing between a kilim, a duri, a sumac, or even a Suzani? It really comes down to your personal taste, right? Your
Yeah.
decor, what you need it for.
Exactly. Each one has its own unique charm, its own story. Understanding the differences just helps you appreciate each one more, I think.
Absolutely.
And kelims specifically, they really are a testament to these centuries-old traditions. They offer both that practical utility in your home and this rich tapestry of history and culture. Whether you're already a collector or maybe just thinking about buying your first special piece, their beauty is, well, it's pretty captivating.
It really is. So maybe here's a thought to leave you with. Consider that owning a kelim, or a similar hand-woven piece, it means you're literally bringing a living piece of cultural narrative, something passed down through generations, right into your home. It's a chance to connect every single day with stories, with traditions, with the artistry of people from maybe halfway across the globe. Quite a connection to have under your feet or on your wall.